Yo, what is up, beautiful people? Welcome in for another edition of the Purpose Life. As y'all can see, of course, I'm not in my normal digs, which is my house. We are back in, it's summer season, so we're back in full swing of camp around here. So, man, listen, it has been a full morning, but of course, I wasn't gonna let the opportunity pass for us to get into the purpose life today. So I'm so glad that you guys jumped in and decided to get with us. We got a lot to get into, right? We have a lot to get into. Of course, it feels like it's been a minute, right? Because we had the holiday. I wasn't on for the holiday, so it's been a couple weeks since we've been together. But all right, so last time we were together, we opened up a new series called Purpose Over Idols, right? Purpose over idols. And I want to dive back into that. If you guys will give me a little bit of latitude today to kind of work within that from a different perspective today. So, if you remember when we covered idols a couple of weeks ago, we went with the definition of idols being the worship of a physical object as a god, money, and in parentheses, you can say money, a title, a house, or a spouse. Okay. So, here we are again. Idols, the worship of a physical object as a god, lowercase g, as a god, money, a title, a house, or a spouse. And we know we've all kind of been guilty of that, right? Like we've all kind of been in a space or a position in life where we at sometimes elevate a certain thing that we're shooting for. Maybe it's a dream, maybe it's a childhood desire or whatever. But we kind of put those things on a pedestal, right? And so here's where God kind of gives us a little bit of a check, right? God gives us a little bit of a check. And you have to also give yourself a check. If you want to be righteous today, be super righteous and sit up and say, man, I don't idolize anything. Okay, well, here's the temperature check I gave you a couple weeks ago. How do you know if you idolize something? If I am more submitted to that thing than God, then I officially idolize that thing. And it's just that simple, right? We don't have to go back and forth. We don't have to argue about it. If there is something that you are more submitted to than you are to God, then it's easy to say I idolize that thing, because there should be no thing that we put before God, right? Seek ye first the kingdom of God. Seek his kingdom first. Everything else comes after that. So if you can be honest with yourself and say, well, okay, then yeah, you've fallen victim to that, right? So we have to look at it, and I want to dive into a couple texts really quick with you today. Let's look at Deuteronomy 28, verse 1 through 8. Y'all know always I'm in the NLT. So if you're in any other translation, that's cool. I'm not knocking it, but I just truly prefer the NLT. All right, for me. All right. So Deuteronomy 28, verses 1 through 8. All right. Now I want you to see, I love to read about the children of Israel. That's probably my favorite, if I can call it a subject. It's probably my favorite subject in the word. I love the children of Israel, and I love them because I feel like the children of Israel are so much like us. They are so much like us in 2025, because they had this love-hate relationship with God, whether it was intentional or unintentional. But it was like, all right, so God gives them a plan, God gives them a promise, they make a promise, they do their own thing. It sounds like us, right? Like, oh man, God, listen, if you, God, when I'm going to, that's us currently. We make those same promises, and then we tend to falter on the promises, right? Because we tend to place those other idols before God, and we just kind of fall off of our promise. So here we are, Deuteronomy 28, verses 1 through 8. I think that's what I said, right? 28 verses 1 through 8. If you fully obey the Lord your God and carefully keep all of his commands that I am giving you today, the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations in the world. You will experience all these blessings if you obey the Lord your God. Your towns and your fields will be blessed. Your children and your crops will be blessed. The offspring of your herds and flocks will be blessed. Your fruit baskets and breadboards will be blessed. Wherever you go and whatever you do, you will be blessed. The Lord will conquer your enemies when they attack you. They will attack you from one direction, but they will scatter from seven. Verse 8. The Lord will guarantee a blessing on everything you do and will fill your storehouses with grain. The Lord your God will bless you in the land that he is giving you. Now, what do we have? We have a promise. We have a promise, right? That is presented to the children of Israel. Now, you and me both, everything about that promise, and it's coming from God himself. I'm betting on the promise. Like, that's me. I don't need anything else. I'm good. I'm gonna stay right there, right? And as you read that text, I'm sure you say the same thing. Like, ah, man, all right, I'm good right there. I don't need anything else. If that is the promise that you're making, sign me up for it, right? That is a blessed life, right? There's a life of abundance. So if that is what you're promising me, I don't need anything else. I'm gonna just do that. See, we would be like the children of Israel because that sounds good. But in that, can I give you one thing that just kind of jumped off the page to me? And I want to say this to you. Adversity doesn't stop your purpose, right? Purpose over idols. Adversity doesn't mean I got to take a step back from my purpose. Adversity is part of the process. Adversity is where you prove how committed you are to the purpose. Adversity is that test where you show God, I'm still faithful. God, I'm still faithful to what you called me to do. Why? Okay, look at verse 7. It says, the Lord will conquer your enemies when they attack you. Guess what? The enemies will attack you. You will have adversity. You will have situations that take you out of, oh man, it's just so good. And I'm just so happy and I'm so excited. I just love God. God, you will have situations that will take you from that place. You will have situations that take you out of that space. The word says it. The Lord will conquer your enemies. So you just get on that first part. The Lord will conquer my enemies. Woo, hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. He'll conquer my enemies. But what did he also say? When they attack you, which means when the attack comes, you don't focus on the attack. You focus on the fact that God already told you, I will conquer your enemies. That's what you focus on. See, adversity can't knock you off purpose. And then here's where it gets even a little bit better for me. He says, they will attack you from one direction, but I'm gonna send them off in many. But you just gotta withstand when they come in that one direction. Man, listen, I'm gonna deal with them in a way like never before. They came one way, but they leaving 10. Okay, that's the type of God that we serve. When you stay committed to purpose, I'm not focused on idols. I'm not focused on those things that I idolize. I'm not focused on that title. I'm not focused on whatever I feel like pleases me in my fleshly vibes, in my fleshly, space. I'm not focused on what pleases me there. No, why? Why, right? But okay, listen, let me not stay there too long, okay? Because here's what happens. We read that and it's like we get so excited and we shout, we say, hallelujah, like God is so awesome, right? And so that promise was made to the children of Israel. But check this out. Because all he did was request that they be obedient as he requests of us every day. Let me ask you, like, what bigger request does God have on you today other than, hey, just be obedient to what I've asked you to do? Don't worry. I will wait for you to say whatever you want to say in the chat. Tell me what God has asked of you that is more than just your obedience. It'll take you all day to figure out an answer, but don't worry. While you're thinking on that, let's get to Deuteronomy 28:15 through 20. Deuteronomy 28:15 through 20. It says, but if you refuse to listen to the Lord your God and not obey all the commands and the decrees that I am giving you today, all these curses will come and overwhelm you. Your towns and your fields will be cursed. Your fruit baskets and breadboards will be cursed. Your children and crops will be cursed. The offspring of your herds and flocks will be cursed. Wherever you go and whatever you do, you will be cursed. Verse 20. The Lord himself will send curses, confusion, and frustration in everything you do until at last you are completely destroyed for doing evil and abandoning me. Now, let me ask you a question. If you were to read the first text, Deuteronomy 28, verses 1 through 8, and if you read Deuteronomy 28, verses 15 through 20, listen, it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science what you would choose. You would choose the promise. You would choose the promise of abundance. You would choose the promise of a good life, right? Because it sounds good in action. But I'm telling you that purpose is bigger than just what you say. Purpose is bigger than just the promises that you make. Purpose carries along with it action that you are called to do. See, but the action is crazy, but the action is only obedience. That was all the action was, just be obedient. What did God tell them to do? When you make it into the promised land that I'm giving you, drive out the enemies. When you make it into the promised land, don't worship their idols. Continue to submit to me, the Lord your God. See, he just asked them for obedience. He didn't ask them to do anything major. as he asks of us today, right now. God is only asking that we are obedient. You saw a comparison between the promises, though. And we know, we know what happened with the children of Israel. They essentially chose the latter promise, which is why they were destroyed, which is why they had wars, which is why all those things happened, because they refused to be obedient. You know why? Because they got into the promised land and they started serving their fleshly man. They stopped serving God and started serving flesh. See, when you idolize certain things, you got to understand this. What you idolize is going to put you in a place where you begin to serve that idol. You're no longer serving God. And see, you think you're serving God through that idol, but it can't work like that. See, listen, what they were presented with was the Matrix before there was ever even a Matrix, right? I wasn't really a fan of the Matrix movie, but I did watch it one time. And I do remember a very distinct scene in the movie where Lawrence Fishburne's character goes to Keanu Reeves' character and he asked him, he said, all right, listen, you got two choices. You got the blue pill or you got the red pill. Which one will you choose? I'm telling you right now, as believers, that is a choice that we are faced with every day. Am I going to be obedient to God and submit to my purpose? Or am I going to choose my flesh and do what makes me feel good on the outside? Not the inside. I'm going to do what makes me feel good on the outside. I'm going to do what looks good to my friends. I'm going to do what looks good on social media. I'm going to do what makes these people of the earth put me on a pedestal and say, oh man, you got it. You doing great. Man, I ain't doing great. I'm just serving God. This ain't about me. It's about God. I'm not focused on me. I'm not focused on how great you think I am. I'm only focused on serving God. See, that's operating in purpose. I'm no longer focused on trying to appease this or trying to accomplish something to put this to make you say, oh man, George, you're doing good. I don't care whether you think I'm doing good or not. My desire is that God says, George, you good. George, I'm pleased. George, I'm pleased with what you're doing. George, I love what you're doing over there. George, I love your faithfulness. That's my desire. That's purpose over idols. I'm not idolizing a title. I'm not idolizing a certain financial status. I'm not and when I say that, don't think I'm saying that like you only have to be, but no, I'm telling you that's not my idol. I don't glorify it. So you have people that say things like, man, when I get to a certain level, then I'm what? You are now idolizing that status. Listen, do you know that God will use you wherever you are? God doesn't need you to look like something. You got to understand this on a bigger level. The reason why Jesus wasn't accepted among the people, because they thought he was coming back fierce. They didn't think he was going to come back as a lamb. They was looking for the lion. They didn't want to respect the lamb. They ignored the power of the lamb because they only wanted to see a lion. You cannot get so fixated on thinking you have to get to a certain status or a certain level or a certain place to begin to serve God. Purpose is now. Yeah, purpose is now. Purpose is now. But I'll say this, right? The hardest part about purpose is that it's not a freestyle. The hardest part about purpose is that you cannot do what you want to do. The hardest part about purpose is that you have to submit to instructions. Think about that. That is the hardest part of purpose, is submitting to instructions. We don't like instructions. You know that. Yeah, come on. We don't like instructions. You go look at it. Last time you built something, did you actually read the whole instruction manual? Or did you just look at the pictures? Think about it. Think about it. When you cook and you're following a recipe, do you follow the recipe to the T? Or do you say like, I'm gonna kind of do my own thing a little bit over here. I'm gonna do a little bit like this because I like it. Purpose is not a freestyle. You do not get to do what you want to do and think that you're operating in purpose. Think about this. Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges are all about the children of Israel as they move into the promised land. Now you got to think about this. They had a clear set of instructions. I just said this, to drive out the people that live there, to do not try to live among them, drive them out. If you allow them to stay, you will adopt their customs. This is what was said to them. These instructions were ignored and they faltered all through the book of Judges. They continue to falter on that. Why? Because they did not want to be obedient. They were, listen, the pagan cultures that were around them, they were lit, man, it looked like it was fun. It looked fun, right? Because sin always looks good to the fleshly man. Weakness, and I'm gonna call it weakness. Weakness always looks good to the fleshly man. It's gonna always look good there because your fleshly man just want to have fun. He just want to have fun. He just want to do things that look appeasing to him. He wants to eat in a way that looks appeasing to him. God tells you your body is a temple. You don't eat like your body is a temple. You don't take care of your body like it's a temple because you want to do what's fun. It's fun to go order a 10-piece. It's fun to eat sweets 24/7 whenever you crave. It's fun to drink and get drunk. It's fun, right? It's fun. But is it pleasing to God? Is it operating in purpose? Is it operating in purpose? That's all I'm asking you guys. A simple question. Is it operating in purpose? I told you all, adversity doesn't stop purpose. I'm going to ask you this simple question. How can you be a light in darkness if there is no darkness? How can you be a light as we were called to be? How can we be a light in the darkness if there is no darkness? Darkness equals adversity. So you got to understand that on this journey of purpose, I'm going through adversity, but I cannot falter on adversity. I cannot falter on adversity. I cannot allow the adversity to see. Adversity for the children of Israel was to be obedient. That was adversity because once they got in the promised land, they had instructions. Hey, drive them out. Hey, listen, don't worship their pagan gods. That was adversity for them. That was adversity for them. But what did they say? Man, adversity looked fun. I may as well just go do what they're doing because, shoot, we already in the promised land. Right? We already in the promised land. Shoot, what? Man, listen, they ignored the instructions. They ignored the instructions. I'm going to tell you this. Listen, let's wait before I say that. Let's jump to Joshua 24, verses 12 through 15. Joshua 24, verses 12 through 15. Okay, hold on, guys. Just give me a second, please. Joshua 24, verses 12 through 15. Check this out. And I sent terror ahead of you to drive out the two kings of the Amorites. Pause. Here's why it's easy for us, should be, to submit to God's instruction because he does everything he says. He never falters on his word. That is something to just, God, I thank you because you never falter on your word. Everything you say, everything you promise, you do it just as you said. And I sent terror ahead of you to drive out the two kings of the Amorites. You didn't have to fight the battle. I just needed you to be obedient and just move in that. Just be prepared for it. But I sent terror ahead of you to drive out the two kings of the Amorites. It was not your swords or bows that brought you victory. I gave you land you had not worked on, and I gave you towns you did not build, the towns where you are now living. I gave you vineyards and olive groves for food, though you did not plant them. So fear the Lord, and we know that means respect. So fear the Lord, have reverence for God. So fear the Lord and serve him wholeheartedly. Here's where you are called into purpose. Serve him wholeheartedly. Hey, don't be 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Don't be 50-50. Serve him wholeheartedly. Put away forever the idols of your ancestors worshiped when they lived beyond the Euphrates River and in Egypt. Serve the Lord alone. You're not here to serve your purpose. Well, I won't. This is what I want. You're not here to get, this is not Burger King. See, that's the world system got us twisted thinking we can have it our way. But how can we have it our way when we're supposed to be operating in kingdom? How are you having it your way when you're supposed to be operating in purpose? Did you give yourself that purpose? No, you did not. Then you cannot have it your way. You have it God's way. Whatever God called, whatever God asked, that's the way you have it. Okay. Serve the Lord. I love that in the NLT it says alone. See, don't try to put anything else on that. Say, I serve God and no, it says serve God alone, period. There is a period right there. Serve God alone. That's it. Don't look for anything else. Y'all didn't like that. Okay. Here's verse 15 though. But if you refuse to serve the Lord, then choose today whom you will serve. Would you prefer the gods of your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates, or will it be the gods of the Amorites of the Amorites in whose land you now live. I love how God talks, because the way he put it to you in the way that he said, listen, do you want to serve the gods of the people whose land that you're in? Because guess what? They're not in the land anymore, which means their gods are ineffective. He said their gods are ineffective. That's why you're in the land now, because their gods are not more powerful than me, because I am God, the one true God, right? I'm the one. So if I'm the one, do you want to serve the others who lost and have no victories under their belt, or will you serve the one who got you where you are? Bro, check that. You better check that. God said, or would you prefer the gods of your ancestors beyond the Euphrates, or would it be the gods of the Amorites in whose land you now live? What I love it is that Joshua said it real clear. But as for me and my family, we'll serve the Lord. Hey, I don't care what y'all do. Hey, I don't care what you all do. Me and my family are going to serve the Lord. Y'all can play around if you want to. You all can keep wasting time if you want to. You can keep acting like you don't know. You can keep acting. Listen, I'm gonna tell y'all again. Elder Cunningham and I love it. I talked to you guys about community. And listen, there's nothing like community in the word. And Elder Cunningham and I shared some voice messages last week. And she said something to me that was so profound. She said, George, God told her in a dream or in her prayer time, can't remember, but she said, God told her we are accountable for the word. We can't keep making excuses. We are accountable for the word. You cannot make the excuses say, oh, well, I didn't know. How didn't you know? How did you not know how did you not know it was available to you? There are listen on my phone. All I listen to is podcasts, which podcasts, not podcasts from the sense of people sitting up talking, but there's a podcast app where I can listen to the word. I listen to pastors. I listen to the word. I listen to my dad, which is my pastor. I listen to the word. Why? It is available. And because it is available, I'm accountable. It's available to me. I'm accountable for what's available to me. Now it's your choice who you serve. It's your choice who you serve. You can serve yourself and keep saying, hey, I'm checking the box. I go to church on Sundays. Right, but it's 6 other days in the week. What are you doing? What is your relationship with God? My dad talked about it yesterday, the fact that the temple was not just a brick and mortar. The temple was mobile with the children of Israel. It could be set up and broke. It was anywhere. Your relationship with God cannot be reserved to just Sunday. Your relationship with God cannot be reserved to when you jump on this on this podcast, on this stream. That is not your relationship with God in a nutshell. Your relationship with God is every day. Every day. God, I want more of you every day. God, I'm seeking you every day. God, I'm opening myself up to you every day. I am accountable to the word that's available to me. Bro, you can go find a Bible anywhere. Shoot, I ain't been in a hotel in a while, but I remember back in the day, they would have a Bible in the top drawer. They say, hey, be accountable here. It's available to you here too. Be accountable. Be accountable. Be accountable. I want to say this to you though. The choice will always be operating in your flesh versus operating in purpose. You cannot do both. You cannot do both. You listen, the biggest part of purpose is making a choice. That's the biggest part of purpose. I got to make a choice. I have to make a decision. Am I going to stay here, or am I going to continue to serve me? Am I going to do what my friends like doing, or am I going to serve God? It's a choice. It's a choice. It's a choice. It is a choice. You got to think about it from this perspective. If you want to act like you didn't get anything else I'm saying, let me drive it home for you with this phrase or this sentence and this upcoming text. It's simply this: one cannot be married and single at the same time. One cannot be married and single at the same time. You're either married or you're single. You want to know why you can't be both? Because those roles will contradict each other constantly. So in that, I'm saying one cannot serve the flesh and serve God's purpose at the same time. See, you think you're operating in purpose, but you're operating in self. But you just want to call it purpose because you feel like I go to church, I serve God. But are you walking in purpose? Or are you walking in those things that you idolize? I got a career path I'm chasing. I got a salary, a set salary I'm chasing. I have a title I'm chasing. Are you walking in purpose? Or listen, you got to understand something. Do you know that God, the level of I say it in my Bible all the time. God is a whatever God. See, you so busy chasing the title, you think it's a certain group of people that's gonna get you there. It's not, it's God. You think it's a certain status that's going to make you be there. It's not. It's God. I don't need a status. I just need God. I don't need a title. I just need God. I don't need the finances. I just need God. God is the ultimate resource. Listen, I promise y'all, let me show y'all this text right here that I keep on my phone that I want to read every time I open my phone. It simply says this: a Psalm of David, Psalms 23 and 1 amplified. The Lord is my shepherd, to feed, to guide, and to shield me. I shall not want. I don't want for anything because everything that I need is tied to the source. So I don't walk around like, man, I just wish let's God just give me, it's a song, but it said, just give me you. I can't sing. Y'all know that. But it said, just give me you. Everything else can wait because everything that I need is tied up in you. We are sufficiently sufficient in him. Go look that up. My mom gave me that scripture. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Pastor Jay, put that scripture in the text if you remember. We are, it was a certain version. We are sufficiently sufficient in him. Mom, please put that in the text if you still actively, you remember that when I talked from our conversation a couple months ago. But let me say this to you. Purpose pulls you away from being 50-50. Purpose pulls you away from being 50-50. See, when you're 50-50, you serve God until it comes against something you want to do. See, purpose won't let you be 50-50, right? Because see, here's the thing, right? Like you serve God until it's time to give, and you say, I got some other things I want to do with this money. I can remember a time, I think I was like 21, 22, somewhere in there, and Dr. Dollar was here for a conference, and we were there, and he was teaching him. While he was teaching, I promise you, I heard my spirit. I know it is never my flesh that tells me to sow. It is never my flesh that tells me to sow. It's always the Spirit of God. So I submit. But I had a little battle first. So I'm sitting there with my parents, and I hear it plain as day. God says, sow this amount. And I said, oh, there you go, Pastor J. 2 Corinthians 3:5. What translation was that, though, Pastor J? Okay, so listen. So I'm sitting there, and while I'm sitting there, God says to my spirit, hey, you need to sow. And he gives me a specific amount. That's why I love it when people try to act like they don't know. How do you not know? God is a very detailed God. He's never going to leave you hanging. So when he said sow, he told me the exact amount of sow. I said, God, I don't have that in my account. And I did. He said, sow this. I said, God, I have that. He said, yes, you do. I said, God, no, I don't. I know what's in my accounts, and it's not that. He said, no, you're looking in your checking and savings. He said, you got that other account that you've been putting somebody back for. Okay, listen, I'm going to let y'all in on a little secret, give you some context. I wanted to buy a motorcycle. I still want to. I want a motorcycle. Like, and my mother doesn't want me to get one. At some point in life, I'm gonna get one though. I'm telling y'all. But so at that time, I wanted to buy a motorcycle. And so I had put, I want to say, I'll tell y'all the amount I made. I know it was over $2,000. I had put back to buy this motorcycle. Now, mind you, hear me. And when I said I'm early 20s at this point, I don't even think Jordan was born. I'm early 20s at this point. Oh, yes, she was. Jordan was like 2 or 3 years old. So I'm like 23, 24, 25, somewhere in there. And so I put this money back to buy this motorcycle. And God, like I said, I know it was over $2,000. I want to say it's like maybe 2,500, something like that. And so God says, sow it. And I'm like, God, that money right there ain't for sowing. That money for my motorcycle. And I'm almost where I need to get the 3K. God, I'm almost where I needed to be. I put that money back for a reason. God says, sow it. I said, okay. I looked at my mom. I said, Mom, she'll remember this story. I said, Mom, I said, listen, do me a favor. I said, I need you to write me a check for this amount. I said, let me go and cash it or whatever. I can't remember if I think I went to the bank and cashed it. I said, yeah, let me write this check to me. Let me go cash it. When we get to the house, I will give you this money back. I have it. I'll give it back to you. But I just got to do this now. She said, okay, no questions asked. My mom, listen, no questions asked here. I said, cool. So I cashed the money. I came back. I sold it. I'll never forget. Doc said to me when I sold, Doc said, boy, you getting like your daddy. He said, every time I see you, you putting something in my hand. Sir, I'm just submitted. Even at a young age, I'm not going to battle God. I'm submitted. That was tough though, because that money was for something. But I'm saying when you serve God, you don't serve him until it's convenient. You don't serve him. Oh, well, I'm going to keep giving God and giving God. Wait, hold on, God. You asked me to go into uncharted territory because now I got plans for this money over here. God, I got plans for this thing over here. God, I had already reserved this time for a trip and you asked me to go serve at a church event. Yeah, see, purpose pulls you away from being 50-50. Purpose pulls you away from being 50-50. Purpose is going to call you to something greater. Purpose is going to call you to true submission. Okay. Can I say this to you guys? And then I'm going to give you a text and we're done. Listen, it's easier to worship something material and tangible than to worship God and submit to his will. I just want to tell y'all that. It's easier to worship something material, to submit to something tangible, than to submit to God and his will. Why? Because you can put your hands on a title. You can see how close you are to the title. You can go, talk to your supervisors and see, hey, what do I need to do to put my name in a hat for this job? Right? You can put your hands on a savings. You're saving to buy a house. You can put your hands on whatever your money that you're putting is. See, you can put your hands on material things. Oh, but when it comes to purpose, see, you never know where you are on the track. You never know. That's the beauty of God. He just wants your blind faith. Yo, just trust me blindly. Don't try to compare me to anything else. Just trust me blindly. What was he teaching the children of Israel every day that they were in the wilderness? Just submit to me. I will supply all your needs in the wilderness for 40 years. We skate on by that part. God was teaching a principle. I supply all your needs in a way that no one else can. Okay, I'm gonna close with this. Judges 11, Judges 11, 31 through 39. You're gonna pick up what I'm putting down right here. If you hadn't been listening to anything else, just listen to this text, please, if you're okay. All right, Judges 11, 31 through 39. Okay, and this is it. I'm done. Judges 11, 31 through 39. Verse 31. Jephthah's vow to the Lord: I will give the Lord whatever comes out of my house to meet me when I return in triumph. I will whoa. Let me back up. Let me read verse 30. And Jephthah made a vow to the Lord. He said, if you give me victory over the Ammonites, I will give the Lord whatever comes out of my house to meet me when I return in triumph. I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering. So Jephthah led his army against the Ammonites, and the Lord gave him victory. He crushed the Ammonites, devastating about 20 towns from Aurora to an area near Minnith, and as far away as Abel Keramim. Yeah, Abel Keramim. I had to look up. Listen, I've been looking up like how to say this up because I get up here and it's like you forget how to read when you see these words. Listen. In this way, Israel defeated the Ammonites. When Jephthah returned home to Mizpah, his daughter came out to meet him, playing a tambourine and dancing for joy. She was his one and only child. He had no other sons and daughters. When he saw her, he tore his clothes in anguish. Why? Because he knew he had made a vow to the Lord. He submitted to purpose. He submitted to purpose. He made a vow to the Lord. Now, I'm asking you, like I just said, purpose is going to pull you away from being 50-50. Purpose is going to call you to something greater. So he made a vow to the Lord, and his only child was the first thing out of his house. Some of us are in places where we won't give God the last $20 in our account because we think we're going to make it big with the 20. We're going to make it big with the 20. So we won't give it to God when he asks because we're going to make something out of the 20. God says, just give me your last. I want it. I don't want the money. I want your submission. I want your obedience. I want your commitment to the purpose I'm trying to pull you to. So he says, oh, my daughter, he cried out, you have completely destroyed me. You have brought disaster on me, for I have made a vow to the Lord and I cannot take it back. Now, here's what I want to tell you, though. Like that, when I read it, the beauty of this was her faith. See, you might think it's him as the father, but the beauty of this was her faith in God. She said, Father, if you have made a vow to the Lord, you must do to me what you have vowed, for the Lord has given you a great victory over your enemies, the Ammonites. But first, let me do this one thing. Let me go up and roam the hills and weep with my friends for 2 months, because I will die a virgin. Can I ask y'all a question? I'm going to ask y'all a question. This is what I'm trying to tell you. When you operate in purpose, it's something special. Did you see where he ever told her what the vow was? Did you see where he ever told her? So how did she know? How did she know? He just said, oh, my daughter, you have completely destroyed me. You brought disaster on me, for I have made a vow. He didn't tell her the vow. She had to be operating in purpose too. Because her operating in purpose, it was revealed to her what her assignment was. Because she said, Father, you have made a vow to the Lord. You must do to me what you have vowed. How did she know something had to happen to her? For the Lord has given you great victory over your enemies, the Ammonites. But first, let me do this one thing. Let me go up and roam the hills and weep with my friends for 2 months because I will die a virgin. How did you know you were going to die? How did you know? You may go, Japhat said. And he sent her away for 2 months. She and her friends went into the hills and wept because she would never have children. When she returned home, her father kept the vow he made and she died a virgin. Two people had to operate in purpose for this thing to work. One, he had to stay committed to the purpose. And he hesitated a little bit. He hesitated a little bit because this is my only, listen, when God calls you to go against everything in your natural man, when God calls you to go against everything that this side of you wants to do, will you still remain on track with purpose? When God calls you to step all the way outside of comfort zone, will you do what he called you to do? My dad shared the story yesterday in his message. He was talking about how God called him to leave the state of Florida and move to the state of Alabama, where he only knew 4 people in one house. He had to step outside of himself. He had to step outside of what he was okay with. And my dad and I were talking about it. He said, son, when I did this, he said, I had to go and talk to three people, 3 ministers, 3 pastors, 3 bishops. I think they were in different kind of categories there that were much higher than him because he was hesitant on if he had truly heard from God, because that was such a big move. But I want to tell you that if you stay in purpose, there's always provision. Provision follows purpose. The 2 P's, provision follows purpose. Say it again. Provision follows purpose. Provision follows purpose. We don't get new life without him following purpose. We don't get New Life Christian School of Excellence without him following purpose. We don't get the Learning Center at New Life without him following purpose. Now, the Learning Center at New Life has graduated several kids that have gone on to do phenomenal things in life. New Life Christian School of Excellence has graduated phenomenal kids that have gone on to do great things in life. That is a product of purpose. Provision follows purpose, but purpose will pull you from where you're comfortable. Purpose will ask you to go to places you don't know about. Purpose will ask you to go do things that you're unsure of. Purpose will ask you to be who you are not. What do I mean when I say that? Purpose will ask you to be uncomfortable, and you love to be comfortable. Purpose is going to ask you to be uncomfortable. Listen, I'm well past my time. It's 37 minutes. I am well past my time. I appreciate you all tuning in. As always, man, I love you all from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for giving me 37 minutes to just have this time with you for us to share and grow in the word. I pray God's favor on your life. And I pray that you all make a decision bigger than you. I pray that you make a decision to live in purpose. Purpose is greater than your feelings. Purpose is greater than your friends. Purpose is greater than what you think you want. Purpose is greater. I would rather live in God's purpose than to live in my own purpose, my own assignment, my own will. I would rather live and submit to God's purpose over anything else. Have a phenomenal week, ladies and gentlemen. Be blessed. I love you all so much from the bottom of my heart.